Last year on King of the Table 13, despite all of the good matches that there were on the card, what stole the show was Brian Shaw vs Eddie Hall. Not just because they're big stars outside of the sport, but actually because of the fact that we've seen some real good arm wrestling from both. Like, due to the very short period of time that Eddie had to train, plus the fact that Brian has already beaten him before in practice, has really made us think that Brian would just run through Eddie. But despite Eddie's lack of time to prepare, he had a very good coach that knew exactly what to teach him to attack Brian's weakness in the best way possible. And so it was. We've seen that Brian was wanting to slip to pull on the straps in the early rounds, although Eddie was feeling that he wouldn't do well when strapped up. Little that he knew, it would be near that he would score his first pin on Brian. And if you just stop to look at it, the reason why he did that was because he managed to gain the center by being faster. So, by having Brian's arm all opened up in a losing position, Eddie has managed to pin Brian. And as the talks about Brian's second match were happening, many fans were discounting Brian because of that pin. Like, many are believing that Kirill Sarychev would just easily beat him. And I've already talked about that here. As much as Kirill has been dabbling around arm wrestling for almost a decade, he has only started taking seriously a couple of months ago. People like Levan and Devon were saying that Kirill feels stronger, but it is not a matter of feeling strong. It is a matter of evolving as an arm wrestler, evolving the technique, and etc. And just recently, the Bodymania channel has posted a video on where we got to see Kirill pulling Valera. And when they start, Kirill simply opens Valera's arm, to the point that it gets pretty close to the pin pad, but then Denis tells him to stop. And by saying that, and also having in mind what I said about speed being the reason why Brian got pinned, I really don't see Kirill beating Brian. Like, realistically, we already saw Brian on the straps when the opponent wasn't fast enough. Brian simply had his posting, and there was nothing the opponent could do. So, in short, I do believe that Brian's second match should be Kirill, and that it is not a mismatch at all. Even because, not even a year in, Brian made his professional debut and won. Whereas Kirill has been on sparrings with Denis cyplenkov since 2015 and still hasn't competed.
Он только начинает. Я тогда тоже только начинаю. Мне же приписывают, Денис Иванович, что... Помнишь, мы в 2015 году с тобой постояли? Уже 10 лет я, получается, армрестлер, блядь.